And welcome to episode number 4 of Made You Look magazine. Where has the time gone? I do not know. Thanks for joining, everyone who's watching. The idea behind the Made You Look magazine is to get business owners just like me, probably just like you if you're watching this video, to talk about their story, give hints, tips, tricks, sharing ideas ultimately with other business owners. Today we've got an awesome bloke on here, Mike Manaley, the Barefoot Broker. He's going to be sharing his expertise in all things sales, marketing, networking, and personal productivity. So, without further ado, let's get the bloke in the room. Please put your hands together for Mike Manaley, the Barefoot Broker. Hello, Mike. How you doing?
Very well. How are you, mate?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to come on. Really do appreciate that. I've been looking forward to
You
this
run a tight
episode.
skip. I had to run to get here.
Well, we'll make it worth it. So, without further ado, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone watching? Who are you, and what is the Barefoot Broker? Why did you set it up ultimately?
Yeah. Well, my name is Mike Manley. I am the Barefoot Broker, and I guess the Barefoot Broker came about because I've been a commercial insurance broker for 15 years. That happened completely by accident. Although I'm very grateful it did happen. And on the back of my third attempt to escape from the insurance industry, I set up the Barefoot Broker as a sales and productivity training business. And the reason I emphasize productivity is because I think that a lot of people go to sales training and get told what to do and even how to do it, but they never really focus on the personal elements of actually getting those things done, which is what I really wanted to focus on. And being someone who suffers with ADHD, getting things done has been an ongoing struggle for most of my existence. So I created a process and a system to make sure that happens, which neurotypical people find quite useful as well, which is the result, I guess.
Good, good. So it sounds like the industry found you, the game chose you rather than you choosing the game, eh?
Absolutely. I thought I was going to be a golf pro for my chosen career.
Okay, fair enough. So tell us what would a typical productivity training session look like with you? What sort of questions do you ask? How would you get the best out of your clients and the people you work with?
Well, what I tend to find when I work with business owners is often, specifically owner managed businesses, are run by people who are inherently good at the thing that they do. It might be an accountant, it might be a lawyer, it might be a HR professional. So the thing being the service or product that they offer, that's what they're really good at.
Mm,
And some of the elements that go around delivering that product, i.e., the sales part, they come to learn naturally, and they pick up clients because they're technically very good at explaining what it is that they do. They don't necessarily understand the processes behind picking up those clients. So what I tend to do in a one-day training session is break it down very simply into processes, three parts: lead generation, prospecting, and closing ultimately. Because I think there's three different parts of the brain that do all of those activities. One's analytical, one you have to be quite chatty, and the other one analytical and chatty, but ultimately with a goal focus. So we break it down over the space of a day, and we look at what the sales process in the business looks like at the moment, ask questions around where it gets stuck, and that's really where the productivity element comes in. My favorite thing, and we speak about it a lot, Bruno, is when people say they're not getting back to me.
yeah.
Surprise. If you have a system and process in place where you don't have to worry about people getting back to you, then all of a sudden that's not a problem. And then the only other problem could really be price. And as we both know, if the only problem is price, there is no problem, my friend. So that
Yeah.
tends to fix most things in the sales pipeline that get stuck, in my honest opinion and experience.
Good. Now, for those who are watching, I am actually putting Mike on the spot here. You don't know these questions that I'm asking. I didn't brief you beforehand, so I'm throwing you under the bus there. But no, there's some good insight there. And one more just on that. When you do work with people, do they have an idea of what they're lacking? Do they have an idea of what they need to improve on, or do you come up with new sort of revolutionary ideas that are new to them. Because I know sometimes, we speak with people all the time, and sometimes they'll tell you why it's not working, but then they'll say, but this, but that, but the other. But really, you've given, deep down that you need to sort something out, whatever it is. Do
Yeah.
you unpack that for them, or do you introduce something, completely new for them?
Well, yeah, that question is very far outside of scope, but I'm happy to answer it. What I think is quite interesting, and having had my own experiences both as sales manager and sales director of different companies and running a London brokerage, what's interesting is you tend to hear the same excuses from people that aren't doing well. I mean, they're not getting back to me is a bit of a joke, but actually the fact is, in almost all circumstances, the same things are wrong, but you have to position it in a different way for different industries and different businesses. So what I tend to do first is understand how the business works, which is part of my insurance broker training, because until you know a risk, you can't insure it. And from there, I look at developing a more straightforward process. And invariably, a lot of it is around changing the mindset from an outbound sales mindset to an inbound client onboarding mindset, and putting the focus around the customer experience and the customer journey, which I have to say marketers in the modern world with all the digital technology do very, very well. And I think those of us, and I put myself in this category, that are a little bit more old school, tend to follow the old Wolf of Wall Street mantra, which inherently just doesn't work anymore. So finding a blend between going through the sales process as it's worked for decades and bringing a bit of the more compassionate, understanding onboarding process is it's kind of where I tend to take it. And invariably it's different for everyone, because every personality is different, and not everyone is a natural salesperson. And for those people that aren't a natural salesperson, I tend to have very different conversations around systems and process that still bring the same outcome, but maybe aren't delivered in the same way.
I hear that. Cool.
Is
Thank
that
you.
a question?
Yeah, for sure. No, that's good. Thank you. And next question for you. What piece of advice, what would you tell someone thinking about going into business today? How can they learn from your mistakes?
Well, I thought about this a lot when you first invited me on the show, and you gave me this one question so far that I knew I was getting. And what I actually think is, and I've just recently done my own video on this today, but I'm going to reiterate it because it's really important, is having and keeping a sense of gratitude for the people that support you on the way out, the people that encourage you to start. My fiance was a huge contributor to me starting the Barefoot Broker. I would not be in business today if it wasn't for her. And the people that I've met along the way, yourself included, Bruno, the people that give you positive affirmation to what you're doing is right early on in business is really important. And I think as your business starts to take off and you get successful, it's so easy to get caught up in all the hype of, sending out a 5-figure invoice, or doing a big deal for a long contract that means you don't have to worry about where your next check's coming from. And all those things can take so far away from the real human element of, I believe I'm good at what I do, and I exist because I want to help or educate or educate people into a better way of being. I actually brag that I don't work that hard. It's not really true. I just don't work myself to death because I've done that so many times over. So I've created a network of people who know, like, and trust me, that know what I do, that know that at any moment in time, if one of their clients, friends, or family needs some help, they can pick up the phone and ask me, be it insurance related, sales related, or anything related for that matter.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the point of, I'm so grateful of every single interaction that I get on a daily basis with everybody, that I think that really is the key. Because I was at a point, and it's maybe the difference between coming out of London and being up in the Yorkshire Dales now, where things start to get some traction and you can kind of feel yourself getting lost a little bit. And it's really easy to focus on what's going well and not why it's going well. And I heard a brilliant hashtag actually, well-being before profits. And I think on hearing that, it's what prompted the thought process, and obviously the pending nuptials and thinking about everything I'm grateful for anyway, my personal life. That is my absolute single piece of advice. Never stop being grateful for how you've got to where you've got to, or who's helped you get there more specifically.
Absolutely, good man. I suppose that'll keep you grounded. If you are grateful for everything, why did you go into business? Why do you do what you do? You've got to enjoy it. You've got to want to make a change. You can't just be focused on the money, because it will never come. If you focus on making a change and helping people and serving your network, I was actually speaking. He's the head teacher of my mum's school. It was a while back, and he said he wanted his life to be of service, and then the rest just looks after itself. And it's so true, isn't it?
It's interesting. I often quote my father when it comes to the conversation of success, because he said to me, I think I was probably 16 or 17 years old, and he was working in London at Barclays Bank at a relatively high level, and he was seemingly doing really well. And I asked the question as a very naive teenager, how do you do well, Dad? And his response was, money is a function of success and not a means to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really grounding statement for people starting off in business. It's like, oh, I've just made 100 grand. Okay, great, but why have you made that? You were already successful to get to that point. You have to have been, otherwise you wouldn't have done it. So it's not a measure of who you are, I don't think. And again, in a world that is heavily commoditized, it's important to stay grounded on that topic, I think.
Yeah. Thank you, Mikey. And finally, the last question: what does the future hold for Barefoot Broker? Are there any trends or hot topics that in personal productivity or sales, or anything that you work in that you'd like to sort of shed some light on, that you think people should be aware of? Are you excited for the future? What's coming up? What have you got going?
Well, in the immediate future, I'll be doing not a lot other than getting married. So that's very exciting. In a business context, I think there's two parts of my brain. Okay, so there's the Barefoot Broker business sales training, and also I'm an appointed representative of 7 Bay Commercial Insurance. And on the insurance side of things, I think all business owners need to be aware that the market is turning to a hard market, which hasn't been seen for over a decade, which means prices will go up, and maybe without any real understanding of why. So it's something to be mindful of now. If you're a business owner and you're buying business insurance, now's the time to have conversations with your broker about what his plans are for your renewal. Get ahead of the market, have the conversation proactively, find out what his advice is. If it doesn't sound in keeping, or if it sounds anything like this, well, it's a hard market and prices are going up, get ready for it. Take him out to market is my advice, because there'll be someone out there who wants your business and who wants to work hard for it. In terms of sales, personal productivity, I'm finding now that post-COVID, I'm getting out and about a lot more, which is great. I think events are going to start happening again. I think there'll be a lot more speaking opportunities. The thing that I'm really excited about, which I have to say was mostly with your encouragement, Bruno, is the online video tips that I've been running for the last 8 weeks or so. 8 weeks, 6 weeks, which is getting a lot of traction. And I think, I mean, we were talking about it the other day, when you offer something to the benefit and goodness of people in business, or mankind even, I think you get a lot back for that. I think the karmic value of just offering advice without any intention other than just telling people what you know.
Yeah.
I think the whole world's moving that way. Just being a little bit more collaborative rather than, people competing for business. I would personally like to see in the next 12 months, people ringing me up saying, can we collaborate on this project, rather than, can you sell me something, or can I buy something from you? That would be the thing that got me the most excited.
Yeah, cool. It's almost sales 2.0. It's not so transactional anymore. It's the people behind it, the personalities, the human side. Whether that's the pandemic, whether I don't know, but I've definitely seen that shift. It's almost a societal shift. What's important to people? It's not just bang, 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 transactions.
Definitely.
All we've got is our network. All we've got is people. We're on this planet for a blooming short time. So, that is all we've got, isn't it? Our people, our relationships. So.
And that hits home so much when you can't go out and just bump into people, and you have to make a point of arranging to talk to people because everyone's stuck at home. All of a sudden, the network that you've got around you is invaluable, and I think that's really the last few years has brought that to the forefront, and long may it continue, in my opinion.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for that, Mikey. Final question. How can people get in touch with you if they do want to learn more? Are you open to one-to-ones, meeting new people? Mikey, for the people watching, Mikey always gives me stick because when I first met him on an online networking meeting, I thought, who's this plonker? I don't want to talk to him. And he keeps raising that up. But Mikey, how can we get in touch with you if we want to?
Beat me to it once again. So I mean, the website's there, barefootbroker.co.uk. You can drop me a message through that. Find me on LinkedIn. Search the Barefoot Broker on Google. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. Drop me an email, mm@barefootbroker.co.uk. That'll come straight to me. And yeah, happy to have a chat with anyone for any reason about anything, for the very simple fact that I don't know who you don't know, and vice versa. And chances are there's value in every conversation. So yeah, please do reach out.
Well, there we go. Mike Manaley, the Barefoot Broker. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully, guys watching, there's been some useful insight there. Even if you've only learned one little thing, that's still a win, for the day. And I always say we've got to find a win out of something. So if you found a little win, little nugget of information, anything like that, it was time well spent. So, Mikey, I'll love you and leave you. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Cheers, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.